Me and Karolina just came back from Italy. We spent 3 days in Rome and we had the most incredible experience. Now, chances are, if you are watching this video, you yourselves are traveling to Rome very soon. And so we put together a list of 17 things that you need to know before traveling to Rome. And I highly recommend that you watch the video all the way through because we're going to be jam-packing this video with so much useful information and knowledge in a very concise manner that's not only going to allow you to have a great experience in Rome, but it's going to make it more smoother and stress-free. So you've just landed at Leonardo da Vinci Airport, which is the main airport, not actually in the city of Rome, but in an area called Fiumicino. Now you're probably wondering, how do we get in to the city from this area? What is the most convenient way? And that is the Leonardo Express train. So once you've collected your luggage, you want to make your way to the train station, which is connected to the airport, so it's very convenient. And then you want to purchase your tickets. Now, they do have ticket machines where you can purchase your tickets, and you would think they're the most convenient option, but actually a lot of the times there's a queue forming because I think people are a bit confused about which ticket to go for, how to actually buy the tickets at these like kind of ticket machines slash vending machines, and they're holding the people up behind them, when actually the easiest way to get a ticket is just simply from the ticket office, and also there's someone on hand to answer any questions you have about the train. And the cost of the ticket was 14 euros per person, so very affordable, and the total duration was around 30 minutes, also very quick.
Yeah, and also our seats were very comfortable and we had incredible views on the way, so the journey just flew by.
Very convenient, very quick, and very affordable. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I am a family. I am a part of a larger group. I have more people. So how do I get into the city? What's the most convenient way for us? And that would be with a taxi. So there's a fixed cost of around 50 euros, that takes you into the city of Rome and probably takes you to your doorstep or into your hotel. And so that probably would be the most convenient way if you're traveling as a larger group. Number two, how do you take public transport in Rome and what are your options? Now, the best way to get around Rome is via the metro. A lot of the sites that you'll be visiting are well connected with the metro, so not only is it convenient, but also it's very affordable. And the best way to actually purchase your tickets is by just scanning on. You've got a credit card or a debit card, you just scan on, or even with a phone, you can just do it contactlessly. And if you want to purchase a physical ticket, you can still do that at the metro stations. Now, when it comes to the buses and trams, we didn't actually take any trams. We just took the odd bus here and there. And it's the same way when you're purchasing tickets, you can do it digitally, and actually that's probably the easiest way to do it. But make sure on the buses that you purchase your ticket, because as soon as we came onto the bus and purchased our ticket, someone came on to inspect and see if we had our tickets, and they thought we only bought one when we actually bought two. And so we would have got a fine if we didn't purchase them.
One card pay only for one person.
Yes, I paid with this phone as well.
You pay with the
Phone
yes.
and the card me.
Ability the wallet?
Yes.
Okay.
Ability the wallet?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grazie. Make sure you have your tickets, guys. And a little tip for you guys is that if you have one debit card or credit card, Karolina, you use the physical card, right? And I use my phone with the digital wallet with the same card. So that's how we can actually buy two tickets using one card.
Another way to get around Rome is, of course, by taking taxis, and we would recommend two apps. It's Free Now and IT Taxi.
It Taxi, I think?
Yeah.
I think it was like the first taxi app in Italy.
Yes, and in that way you would secure the best rates, but also you would avoid any sort of scams. But also what we found is that Rome, especially the historic center, is extremely walkable. So especially if you're staying somewhere nearby, you can just go on strolls and do your steps, because actually all of the views and sights on the way, it was just so nice to soak it all in and actually feel the character of the city.
And also the taxis are very expensive, and so when you've got such great public transport options and it's very walkable, I would try and limit your use of taxis. Number three, where should you stay in Rome? So we stayed in the historic center, which is a great option because all of the main sites, or pretty much all the main sites, are walking distance, and so you don't need to take as much public transport. And we had a fantastic location opposite Castel Sant'Angelo and the bridge. So waking up to that every morning was great, and we were doing a lot of walking. And so for us, being in the historic center is great if you like to walk. But the trade-off is that you're going to be paying higher rates. So we were paying around 160 US dollars per night, which is a bit more on the pricier side of things. Whereas in Prati,
Yeah, so Prati is actually on the other side of the bridge and it's near Vatican City. So it's a more like a residential area, elegant buildings, and you would pay relatively less. But the trade-off is that to come to the city historic center, you would need to add on maybe another like 15 minutes.
20 minutes. So if you like your steps, then you can walk in. But as we said, public transport is great in Rome. So in Prati, you've got the metro, but also I'm sure there's buses coming into the historic center
And
all
that's
the
exactly
time.
where the tram from the airport dropped us off. So it was very convenient.
So we took the Leonardo Express to the train station, and then we took the metro to Prati, and then just walked a little bit towards the historic centre. Now, if you don't want to have to take the metro from the train station, a great option is Monti. So Monti is this kind of trendy, up-and-coming area where they have nice like coffee shops and restaurants, and it's like 7 or 8 minutes from the train station, and it's right next to the Colosseum, and so it's a very convenient location. Although the trade-off here is that it's on the opposite side of the Vatican City. So you're going to always have to take public transport at some point, but I think the sweet spot is the historic centre where everything is walkable. Now, in terms of a tourist tax, how much is that, Karolina?
So in Italy, there's something called tourist tax, and it's actually the cost that you need to pay just for staying in Rome.
Per night.
Per night.
Per person.
Per person. And also it depends on the hotel rate. So it's up to 10 euros. I think we must have paid around 2-3 euros, but with our Airbnb, it was actually covered.
Yeah, on the Airbnb, it didn't tell us what the tourist tax was. I think they probably just included it in. But don't be surprised when there's a tourist tax per person up to 10 euros. And again, as Karolina said, it depends on the type of hotel that you're going for. If you're going for a 5-star hotel, you're probably going to be paying the maximum rate. Number 4, do you need cash in Rome? So when you arrive into Leonardo da Vinci Airport and you're collecting your luggage, you'll see quite a few ATM machines. And so here we recommend withdrawing around 100 euros. And you're thinking, 100 euros? Like, I need to be bringing like 1,000 euros with us. Well, actually, for 2 weeks, we didn't even spend 100 euros. And so we just recommend having that kind of safety net of 100 euros because there are some circumstances where you might need to have some cash.
Yeah, and to be honest, we always want to have some cash on us because there will be some situations that it will be very handy, like for example, small eateries, or if you would like to leave a small tip. It's another story which we will cover later on. But yeah, like it's good to have cash on you.
And when you purchased the bags from the leather market in Florence, that was only in cash. And a little tip is when you're purchasing or when you're withdrawing, money from the cash machines, always use a travel card because you'll save on the conversion kind of exchange rate fee. And also the machines themselves sometimes charge you a fee. In this case, we didn't get charged. And so do you need cash in Rome? Not very much, because actually most of the payments that you'll make are contactless. There was very few situations where we were paying in cash. You'll be paying pretty much everything contactlessly. Number 5, Sundays and Mondays can be a travel nightmare coming to Rome and can mess up your plans.
So actually Sundays are religious days, so there will be always some events happening or like holy masses. But what's interesting is that Mondays, like many museums, are actually closed, including the Vatican museums, which are actually opened last Sunday of the month and are for free. But it was really busy in Rome, so I can imagine that it's going to be extremely busy on that Sunday, even if it's for free. I'm not sure.
I would probably not go to that that Sunday date, and I would just probably avoid planning your Rome trip around Mondays and Sundays, just to avoid the disappointment of not being able to do the activities or go to the museums that you want to go to. Number 6 is a very important one. Book your activities in advance. Please, please, please don't be the tourist who doesn't do this, because the amount of people we saw queuing up in the heat of Rome in these crowded queues, and I'm just thinking to myself, we booked our activities around, I would say 2-3 weeks in advance.
Which was actually quite late, but we secured all of the spots.
And a lot of people actually book their activities or book their Rome trip well in advance, like even months, even a year in advance. I have no idea how we were seeing all these queues at the main places. We're talking Colosseum, Palatine Hill and Roman Forum. We're talking Sistine Chapel and Vatican Museums.
And St. Peter's
Basilica and the Dome. The amount of times we bypassed the queues because we had just booked our tickets in advance. And it doesn't mean that you have to pay more money to book your activities in advance. It just means that you just need to put a little bit more work in. And the reality is, if you're watching this video, you are very diligent and you are going to be that person who has a great experience in Rome, because I think the people who complain about having poor, let's say, experiences in these touristy
city
cities
also being super touristy or overcrowded,
is the people who aren't booking their activities in advance. So please, from Jay and Karolina, book your activities in advance so that you have the most smoothest, stress-free, brilliant experience in Rome. We highly recommend you book your activities through Klook. Klook is an experience booking platform that makes planning your trip so much easier. You can book tickets to the Colosseum, Vatican museums, and even the Pantheon, all in one place.
We use it ourselves and love how smooth the process is. So you can simply search in your own language, pay in your own currency, and everything is stored right on the app.
And it's very convenient because in many cases you can simply scan the QR code straight from the Klook app to enter the attractions. And right now they're running their Euro summer deals, which means that you can get up to 25% off experiences across the likes of Italy, France, Spain, and the UK. So now is a great time to be booking your activities through Klook. You can scan the QR code on screen or put a link in the description if you want to find more information about Klook. And if you do decide to book your activities and experiences through Klook, don't forget to use our code JCarolinaKlook to save some money and get some nice discount on them activities and experiences that you are booking.
Thanks again to Klook for sponsoring this video.
Number 7, dinner happens late in Rome.
Yeah, so actually most of the Romans eat their dinner around like 8 or 9 p.m. and they feast till like 11 p.m., which is very late.
So late, yeah.
Yeah, so if you would like to secure the spot in a restaurant without a reservation, you can go easily around 6 or 7 p.m. and have more like the relaxed atmosphere, and that's what we would definitely recommend.
I think in Trastevere, where there's a lot of popular restaurants, we came at around 6 p.m. and we didn't have to wait in queues, we didn't need to make reservations. And so you can take advantage of having kind of normal dinner times versus the Romans who would eat much later in the evening. Number 8, must try food spots in Rome. So this is a time when you get out your notepad and you start writing down the names of these recommendations.
Yeah, so the first thing that comes into my mind is all'antico, and it's actually a Florentinian sandwich. So it comes from Florence, but it was very popular there, so they brought it also to Rome and opened, I think, 2-3 places. So basically you will get a really massive like focaccia bread, and you can choose all of the ingredients, which are very fresh. And just thinking about that sandwich,
take me back to Rome
it was
or Florence.
So good, yeah. And especially during lunchtime, it can get very busy, but the queue moves quickly, and actually it's so worth it. Like we paid around 10 to 12 euros per sandwich, like massive sandwich, and it was so satisfying.
And there was 2 shops right next to each other, so it's that popular. Literally right next to each other they have these 2 shops, and there is always going to be a line, but it goes very quickly. We recommend when you're waiting in the queue to scan the QR code, there will be one on the door, because the range of these Italian sandwiches are very extensive, but they are super delicious. And my personal favorite recommendation is 2 sizes, which is, they say, the best tiramisu in town. It comes in 2 sizes. I think it's small and big. And it's not actually that expensive at all, and probably one of the best tiramisus that I've had personally.
And you're a tiramisu lover. So.
I'm a tiramisu lover, and they have different flavors as well. You went for like a strawberry.
Fragola. Yeah.
Personal favorite also is for breakfast is,
oh my god, maritozzo. So actually we found a really good pasticceria called Regoli, and they've been making maritozzos for like years now. And basically what it is like a Roman style, like it's very famous because it originates from Rome. It's like a bun, like a brioche.
Brioche bun.
And then you have some sort of like the whipped cream, but not really. And then it's actually also like the flavor of the orange, like zest. So when you bite into it, it's just heaven.
Slight zesty flavor to it. It's full of this beautiful smooth cream and this really nice kind of bun or brioche bun, and only had the opportunity to try it once, and I keep regretting the decision that I would have that every single morning. And we actually had it outside of the Colosseum. It was just
incredible.
So good. Number 9, you're going to need that notepad out again, because we're going to be introducing you to the area of Rome that has the best and the most authentic food in Rome, and that is Trastevere. So the first place that we went to was called Tonorello. Now this is probably the most popular restaurant in Trastevere, and for good reason. We came around 6 p.m. and we got sat down very quickly. We didn't have to wait in a queue, we didn't make any reservations, and we were sat outside of the restaurant in this nice courtyard, very Italian. And we had a nice glass of wine, as you do when you come to Italy, and we also went for some delicious pastas. So I went for a carbonara.
And I went for amatriciana.
And these are the 2 of the 4 main pastas that you've got to try when you're coming to Rome. The other 2, one being cacio e pepe.
And the other one is griccia.
So these are the pastas that you definitely want to try. And Tonorello was a great experience. The service was really, really good. They were really friendly. And the service charge, they only charge you 5% service charge for such a popular place for tourists. You think they would be charging a lot more, which means that for the great service they had, you can tip them however you want to tip them. And the next place is?
It was called La Pizzeria La Boccaccia, and actually it was known for pizza al taglio, which is pizza bar de slice, but actually in Rome they weight it, so
they make a slice. I think it's like a square.
It's like a square. They put you choose your pizzas, and then they put it on the weight, and they calculate it. So it was really nice, because actually it was so quick to just grab it and have it warmed up as well, and just sit on the streets of Rome and just soak it all in.
And there were so many good options, and the place we went to, again, we're going to put links to all of these places in the description. All of the kind of useful information coming to Rome, you'll find it in the description box below, and so we'll put like Google Map links so you know exactly where to go.
And where the locals go, because actually so many people, like locals, you could just see it. They were just popping in, quickly grabbing it, having a small chat and just leaving.
It was a traditional pizzeria. Now the third place that we recommend to go to, which is also again in Trastevere, is Suppli. And so Suppli is a kind of fried rice ball
with mozzarella
and tomato inside. And this is particular to Rome, and so you definitely got to try it. And this is the place to come. You'll see there'll be like a lot of group tours coming there to try it, because it's very authentic, and it's very nice. It's like, almost like tasting like a pizza, but in a kind of rice ball. Number 10, for the best gelato that we tried in Italy, we recommend, or highly recommend, Gelateria La Romana.
So when you enter the shop, it's really vibrant, it's quite modern, but they've been serving gelatos for years now. So you can choose your flavors for like the metal, like ice cream tubs, like
metal containers. I think these are the authentic way to store gelato.
First you choose actually the size, so it ranges from the small one to the big one, from €3 to €5. And once you choose the cone or a cup, they ask you if you want the chocolate, like melted chocolate at the bottom.
They have like these chocolate taps. It's not like a chocolate fountain, but it's like a tap that literally has liquid chocolate coming out of it. Amazing. And they put it at the bottom of the cone, or if you're getting like a cup or a tub, I'm sure they kind of drizzle that chocolate around the gelato. Not ice cream, gelato.
And this is not even the best part, because when you choose your flavors, at the end they ask you to add on top the panna.
La panna, which is whipped cream. And so I've never had ice cream or gelato. In this instance, gelato, which is more creamy, like it's not, ice cream is more milk, gelato is more cream.
Yeah, it was actually so good. For €4, you will just have this like heaven of ice cream.
Oh, that was so good. Take me back again. Second time I've said this in this video. Literally making this video, it really makes us relive the experience, and we just had such a good time in Rome, and the gelato and that whipped cream. Now, a tip to avoid the kind of bad ice cream, or sorry, gelato, is to avoid going to these ones that have very colorful displays of ice cream that are not in these metal kind of tubs and containers. They usually have artificial dyes and artificial kind of colorings to make it look to you more appealing and kind of to kind of get your attention, what you want to be looking for is more like the neutral gelato. That is the authentic gelato. Another thing that you might find useful is that we actually made a vlog over 3 days in Rome. And so all these points that we are sharing with you, we actually put that into action in this video. And so we'll put a link in the description. What it really does is it brings these points to life. So if you want to see us like in live action in kind of a very raw manner, going and doing this stuff so you feel more comfortable, maybe you're a little bit anxious about visiting Italy, we'll put a link to that video in the description. We also made a video in Florence and also in Venice. So when them videos are ready and they're uploaded, there'll be a link in the description. This will be very useful for you guys to watch that in preparation for your trip to Italy. Number 11 is a bit of a controversial one because we're going to be talking about tipping culture. We're also going to be covering the Coperto, which you'll find at the end of your meal in a restaurant when you're paying the bill. And the reason why this is controversial is because in Europe, there isn't much of a tipping culture. So us being Europeans, I'm from the UK, Karolina's from Poland, we usually tip around like 5 or 10%.
Yeah, when we go to a restaurant and the service is good.
And so it's not something that's expected. It's something that waiters and service staff are grateful for, but they're not expecting it. Now, the reason why it's controversial is because actually a significant amount of tourists are coming from the likes of America or Canada, where there is a tipping culture where people are expected to pay 25%. Now, that is not the reality in Europe. So when we went to America for the first time, we made a video about it. We were a bit worried about when and when not to tip.
Yeah, how to approach it.
Even when you're ordering a coffee, do you tip? And like usually when you're paying with a card, it always comes up, you know, a tipping percentage. That doesn't happen in Europe. In Europe, we don't typically pay tips. And if we are paying tips, it's usually for when we go into the restaurants and we've had good service. So it's an optional thing. And the other thing is when we're having maybe guided tours and we want to tip that person.
And actually in Italy, this Coperto, so basically this is the charge for the table. A lot of people are confused because it's not actually a tip, like this is something separate. So we would recommend paying, like if the service is very good, around 10%. Based on the amount from the bill. But if you just want to leave like occasionally, like I don't know, 1 to 3 euros because you just want to appreciate.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the waiter, the staff and the people serving you would actually be very happy to even get it 2, 3, 4 euros. But when people are tipping like 10, 15 euros, the economy of tipping in Europe changes. And actually most of the tourists that we saw were coming from North America. And so I think from European perspective, we felt sometimes a little bit like uncomfortable with not tipping even 20-25% because we saw it's happening so much. And so what we recommend is tipping around 5 to 10%. And if they are offering you very good service, you can tip higher, but just a few euros here and there actually goes a long way.
And just to clarify what Coperto is, it's actually a charge for the table, but it also includes the bread, which comes usually alongside some olive oil. So it's really nice because you just pay from 1 euros to 3 euros for this.
You'll just see it on the bill at the end. And so it's not a tip, it's not a service charge. It's
something else.
Like a service, it's something else that's particular to Italy. I don't think, is it any other countries?
No, I don't think so.
Number 12 is stay connected with an eSIM. So the beauty of an eSIM is that you can actually purchase it before you fly to Italy. And then when you land, you can literally activate the eSIM on the plane. And so you have internet literally as soon as you land, as soon as you're on the tarmac, which is very convenient because you don't need to go to a SIM card shop. If you're arriving late at night, sometimes the SIM card shops are closed. And you just don't have to deal with the hassle. You can literally get straight to your hotel. And the great thing about the eSIM is that you have internet at your fingertips, which means that taking the Leonardo Express train into Rome, getting around Prati, getting around the historic center for your entire trip is going to be so much easier because you have internet, so you can use things like Google Maps, you can just be connected to social media. And so the one we recommend is from eSIM. Now with eSIM, if you're doing a your travels across Europe, they have a plan for 35 countries. And so you're covered. So you don't need to keep buying a physical SIM card. You don't need to keep switching your eSIM. And if you are just coming to Italy, then you can just purchase their Italy plan as well. And at checkout, if you use our code JKarolina3, you'll save some money because you'll save $3 off your first eSIM. Number 13, should you be worried about pickpocketers or scammers?
Just be careful of your rucksack because this is pickpocket heaven right now.
Attenzione, pickpocket! Pickpocket! Attenzione, pickpocket!
Now you've seen it online, all these social media posts in the metros and tourist sites of pickpocketers who use these crowded areas to pickpocket you. And so it makes you worried and you get anxious. You probably are maybe not even traveling to these places because you're worried about it, because these people making content online about pickpocketers, also scammers, they have these elaborate scams. It happens. Now, will it happen to you is the question. And from our experience, we didn't come across any pickpocketers. We didn't see it happening. And I think the thing about social media is it makes it seem like it's going to happen to you, when actually in reality, a lot of these creators, they go out to find these pickpocketers and scammers. They're literally searching for that content. And you're not going to be doing that. So the chances of it happening to you are not very high, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be aware of your surroundings. And so when you're going to these main tourist attractions where it's very crowded, or you're on the metro, just be aware of your surroundings. Just use a bit of common sense to see, should I be standing close to this person who looks a little bit suspicious? Should I have my bags opened on in these tourist sites or on a metro? No, you probably want it to be obviously zips up. And if you can, put your rucksacks out to the front of your body so you can see it. And you won't have an issue. In our opinion, I think the social media you'll find online they're preying on your insecurities. It's a very emotional thing. Yeah. And it's also a very psychological thing. And so I won't really worry about it. But that being said, in any city that you travel around the world, there's going to be people who are thieves, who are pickpocketers, and are scammers. We even came across it in Florence, where they're not luring you, they are luring you into the scam actually, but it's just about knowing about these scams as well. So there was a ball and cup scam in Florence. And I've seen this online, so it's good that these creators are pointing it out, but you shouldn't be getting worried about it. You just need to be knowledgeable and aware of your surroundings. But this ball and cup scam, it's so obvious. You'll see like 3, 4, 5 individuals who don't typically look Italian. You can see they all kind of look similar, from a similar region. I'm not going to comment on which region that is, but you can probably understand what I'm talking about. And they are putting money into this game, and they're working together, and they're trying to get a crowd, and they're trying to get unsuspecting tourists to gamble their money. And so what happens is that they'll make it seem like you can get the ball under the cup, but the reality is all your money is gone. It is a scam. Number 14, how should you dress at religious sites? So when you're coming to Rome and coming to Italy, you'll often find yourself in churches and cathedrals, like religious sites, and that's something very important to experience because they're so beautiful. And so you don't want to kind of risk not being allowed into these places, especially when you're spending money and you're putting all this effort into booking these experiences. But when it's very hot in Rome, which it usually is, you probably are wondering, how closely do they follow that rule?
Yeah, so there's actually a dress code that you need to cover your shoulders and the knees. And for the guys, it wasn't that strict. Like you could just enter with the shorts.
I never had any issues. I'm not wearing super short shorts. I'm still kind of showing my kneecaps, and I never got stopped with having shorts. And I think they are quite realistic. When it's like 30 degrees, people are really hot and sweaty. I don't think they really expect you to really cover up from head to toe.
I think for the ladies, it's just very important to carry with yourself like some sort of like a scarf or a shawl that you would cover your shoulders, because it's just out of respect, and that's what people would expect from you.
Maybe wear like a dress that at least covers your knees, just to be on the safe side of things.
That's what I did.
Because our experience might not be your experience, and we don't want to be the one responsible for you not getting let in. Just in our experience, it was way more relaxed than they say online, but it might also come down to the person who's scanning your ticket and the people who you come into contact with. You might have a very different experience, so I would side on the air of course, the expression on the air of caution.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying it right. But you guys kind of get what I mean. Like, just kind of be respectful, try not to show too much skin, but also be understanding that, or just know that it's not going to be that bad as they show it out online. Number 15, drink from Rome's public water fountains. So in Rome, you'll come across hundreds of these water fountains. I think there's over 1,500 of them. They're called Nisonis. And you can even get an app. We'll put a link in the description to this app that actually shows you where all these water fountains are. And the water is so good, so clean, and actually it's really cold because the water is coming from the mountains surrounding Rome. And so our guide for the Colosseum taught us about that, and so that was amazing to know that we're drinking really great quality fresh water. And so you want to be carrying a water bottle because you can actually fill up at these water fountains with the water bottle. And so you're not only saving the environment, you're also saving a bit of money because you don't need to buy water bottles. The Romans don't buy water bottles.
No. On the first 2 days, we actually bought a bottle of water, and it was like 2-3 euros each. So it's definitely not necessary.
The water coming out of them fountains, it's so nice, guys.
So refreshing.
When you see them, you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I should be drinking from that because it's constantly flowing. These water fountains, they don't stop.
But it is safe.
It is completely safe, and even if they look a little bit dodgy, because some are really nicely well kept and some are like graffiti, they're not really well kept, just definitely take advantage of the water because it is absolutely beautiful. And if you don't have a water bottle, there is a technique which we'll put some image over here right now to show you how it works, but you put your thumb on the end of the water fountain kind of neck and it shoots out through a different hole. Just be careful because that water can really fly out. And on a few occasions, I think I nearly hit a few people with the water from the fountains. Number 16, useful phrases or Italian phrases to know when coming not just to Rome, but to Italy. Now, I know usually just the basics. So like hello, which is ciao.
Yes, and it's also bye.
It's also bye, right? Because I heard, when they say ciao and then you leave and they say ciao. There's buongiorno, which is good morning, good day, and grazie, which is thank you. So you'll see me saying this all the time.
Grazie.
Grazie. Grazie.
But Karolina being the more cultured one in this relationship, me being from the UK and I'm a typical Brit, I just know English. You know a few more phrases.
Yeah, I think it's also polite to use the local language. So when you go, for example, in the evening, you say buonasera, which is good evening. And also when you ask for the bill, you can say il conto per favore. So basically, can you sort out the bill, please?
I was really impressed when you ordered that espresso.
Yeah, it was... un caffè per favore?
Buongiorno, uno caffè espresso por favore.
And basically when you ask for the caffè, it's always the espresso. You need to ask for the cappuccino if you want to have the milk.
So just knowing these kind of simple phrases will not only create like a connection between you and the Italian people who come into contact with, but also it just makes you feel more like you're visiting Italy and you're getting kind of, steeped into the culture, and they really appreciate it. They really,
they always smile. Like Italian hospitality is just the best. Like they always smile and they appreciate it.
And you'll get better hospitality if you just know a few words because they would appreciate that you're trying to speak, at least basic parts of their language. Number 17, how much should you budget per day? So this is a very subjective point because how much you spend may be very different from how much we spend. Nevertheless, Karolina, being the accountant in this relationship, the one who manages our budget, I think every time at the end of a day, you're making notes on how much you're spending, whereas I'm just the one who spends it. I hate doing any budgeting. And so Karolina, how much do we spend per day? Well, how much should we budget per day, sorry?
Yeah, so actually we spent around $300 for both of us. And the majority of this goes to accommodation. You saw our apartment in Rome. We paid $160 per night. And it's not only for the apartment, but actually we paid also for the location, for the view, and also it was nicely kept.
And that meant that when it came to transportation, because we're in the historic center, that we were budgeting around, what, $10?
Like $10 for both of us, because
yeah.
the ticket itself for the bus, metro or the tram is €1.50.
Very cheap. Yeah.
It's very cheap, but actually because we like to walk and we stayed in historic center, like it was really easy to get to places.
We never took a taxi. The taxi is going to really bump up that transportation budget per day. And so, like I said, book a great place for walking. Do a lot of walking, get some, burn some calories so you can also not put on weight when you're eating so much carbs from like the pizza and the pastas.
And actually now talking about the food, so it really again depends on you what you want, because in Italy you can really eat well just grabbing a snack or like gelato.
So true, yeah.
But if you really want to have a nice experience and for example dine in Trastevere like we did in the evening with the glass of wine, your budget will obviously be a bit bigger.
We would spend maybe around $60-$70 on a meal, maybe $80. And we'll do that probably once per day. But the rest of the day we were eating at like kind of these kind of street food kind of options like Al Antico, where you're spending 10 euros for a massive sandwich that fills you up.
Or cafeterias when you grab just a cornetto or maritozzo.
Maritozzo is beautiful. How much was the maritozzo? It was
I think it was like 4 euros per maritozzo, which was massive.
So that's how we kind of travel and we budget.
And we balance it out.
And we're not big drinkers. I think also if you're drinking a lot of, Aperol spritzes and wines, that's really going to bump up your budget per day. But for us, we were having it, maybe once or twice a day. And even then it's not that expensive in Italy. And don't forget guys, in the description, you'll find all of the resources we mentioned in this video. And so there you'll find really helpful things to make your experience in Rome just so much more smoother and stress-free. And we hope the information, the knowledge we imparted to you in this video really helps you to have a great time in Rome. With that being said, if you could give us a like, that will be very helpful. And again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the
Next video!
And don't forget to subscribe. I forgot about that one.
Bye!